right, good morning. It's August 3rd, and the market opened about 11 minutes ago. So let's go over here and take a peek at how things are playing out, and I'll tell you what I'm seeing here for today. So let's just do a sort of a brief recap here of the overnight session. I'll just show you a couple of things. So I measured from this low up to right there and then back to there. I measured back to this one and wasn't really useful, so then I measured to that one. That gave us a target up here at 97.5. And then you'll see I measured the break from here down to there and then back to the CP. That gave us a target of 80.75, and the low here was 81 in the overnight session. And then, oh, where do I want to be? Right there, I think? No, I think right there. Not quite sure where I had drawn that from before. Anyway, then you can see they came off of this target and came all the way back up, and we had this 97.50, and the high in the overnight was 97.25, and then that was the high so far. Haven't been able to get above that. And then what we have here is we have these three different CPs. So we have, let me go actually move this one. That's what we're looking at, I think. Yeah, that way we can see that's a CP. So what we have is we have these three different CPs. So this target was achieved, and then that target was achieved. And so we started off, and in our map room, we said, okay, so we have the upper target achieved and the lower target achieved. And they didn't break either of them. They actually came a tick in front of each of them. So nothing real crazy happening there yet. So we can measure this break back to there, and back to there. And that gives us three different prices. We got 83, and you can see, I'm going to go down to a lower, let's just go look at like a 1 minute here so you can see what happened at each of these. So, bit of a bounce, and right at the open, they kind of probe up above here. We have 89.75. They probe that by up to 91. So just a 5-tick probe right through there. And then that drops, and we end up seeing this 83 to the tick. And then from 83, there's a pretty nice bounce, 3.25 points back up to here. But then doesn't even get back to the CP. So if you're in MAP and you are paying attention to the things that I'm saying, like what I said this morning about watch how far down the market's going or how far it bounces back up. Pay attention to those kinds of things. How closely are they using with the price? What we can see from the overnight, they were a tick in front of each of the targets. So pay attention to those kinds of things. And then here from 83, there's not even enough strength here to get back up to 87.50 and test that. So dies out here. We needed 5 ticks more to get back up to here. Even another point would have been good to get back up into this area. Doesn't happen though, okay? And then starts coming down. So this tells us it's relatively weak. And this target was already achieved. I left it in here so we can see the lower ones. But then what happens, they break below right here. And then this, the highest they got back above here was a point, but once this broke down here, we had a pretty good idea that this was coming, this 79.25. We talked about that in MAP. And then this was really one tick above here, and then this dropped. So there's about, there's 3.75 points on that move. And then, this is important to pay attention to, notice where it bounced back to was, we got back up into here, but we still haven't been able to get back to here. So the over or the low from yesterday's 77.25, and the next target right here would be 77. There's 79.25. So they've probed this by 3 ticks. And I'd say at this point, we'd probably still just call that a probe. So if no follow through from here, and this has already been here, bounced to here, and been back here. So not my favorite A++ kind of place that I would want to be buying. But if they don't get some bouncing from here, it tells us things are, so relatively weak, can't get back to the CP. It does get back to here, but can't get back to the CP, so still pretty weak, okay? So we don't really have to guess. The market's telling us pretty weak, little bit stronger, but still kind of weak. And then we'll have to see, can the buyers really step in here? Do they want to probe below the overnight? So let's go back to a 5-minute and look at what might be coming. So here's okay. So there's 77 quarter. Let's see what happens here. Do they come back to this 83? Do they come back to 87.50? Do they come back to 89.75? How far can they come back? And this 77 would be on the table, but that's 3 ticks. So just pay attention to what goes on down here. But we could see weak, little bit stronger here because it was able to bounce back up and test. We saw when we broke that down, it was able to come back up and test. And then let's pay attention to this. But below here, obviously, we have this 74 quarter and then 72 half. And then we have the CP here at 70, 68 3/4. This should be relatively important at 67.50 and then 66.50. So just, all the way down. And also, if we get a break of the CP here at 70, gives us something we can measure and go on. But for now, I wouldn't say we're in any kind of meltdown mode, at least certainly not yet. And as of right now, what we discussed is a bit of a range. Until the market tells us something else, there's a bit of a range between 77 and 4,400. And we haven't even seen anywhere near the top of that range. There have been some reactions off of each of these levels, but nothing super fantastic. So we'll just go with it and see, one step at a time. If we break down below 77, we know that opens some things up for lower. There's a chance that can hold. And, we can go back up and test some of these higher numbers. At some point, we would anticipate that they at least want to come back and test, let's say, this 85.75, kind of at a minimum. But really, one of these CPs, and really even that CP hasn't been retested. So while things have been relatively weak to start off, I'm not sure that there's any kind of a meltdown mode going on here today, and we'll just kind of have to see how things play out. So we'll just take it one step at a time. And we have our last of the training classes today that I've been leading. Those have all been recorded, so you can go sign up for that course. Okay, so we just broke yesterday's low by 5 ticks, so that's low enough. I'm saying that'll do it. That'll give us the break. So that starts to open up these other targets down here. And if we can get some kind of a bounce, we can measure from here and then whatever this gives us. But for now, these are going to be really, this was the low overnight, so this 74 quarter. These are going to be fairly reliable as far as targets go. But just one step at a time, and obviously the more, that would be 200, 200, 200. So these are, each one of these in succession are getting, so you can gauge the importance of them. So by what we use to measure it. So all of these should be fairly good targets that we see here. So if we're breaking one, should go to the next one. And obviously we have that CP right here. So these, I wouldn't say override prediction points, but they are used in conjunction with it. So it's just one step at a time. Okay, so for now, since this actually broke like this, we really probably don't have anything valid beyond this 60.75 right now, and if that were to break, then we'll have to see. Yeah, then we just need to see from there. We need to be able to measure any break of this prediction point right here. So we'll just go from there, and I'll see you back here for the review video, and those of you that are in the course, we'll see you in the class today. Okay, thanks for being here this morning.